Now, again, brothers and sisters, I have to tell you, what you're seeing today is different than what occurred yesterday. And what I mean is what used to be so sure, what used to be so sure in the doctrine of Edom and their Caucasian so-called Messiah, what used to be so sure is now being challenged. And it took a group of men to go in this book and read hard the things. When I say study hard, Proverbs 15, let me look at this. Proverbs 15. Proverbs 15, verse 28. The heart of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the sinner poureth out evil things. See, it's a difference, brothers and sisters. The heart of the righteous studieth to answer. Studieth to answer. So the righteous would be the ones that are studying to answer what you may need to know about the book. It's all about the belief in what you are reading. That's why Paul made sure he said the same thing. And even before we go there, Psalms 119. You guys, you know, when we read verses like this, be sure that you understand that nothing changed. It's the same. When David says in Psalms 119, verse 43, King James Version, and take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in thy judgments. Brothers and sisters, the word of truth is the law. The judgments is the laws. David has just revealed with the Holy Ghost that the word of truth is his judgments, which are the laws. So the word of truth is the law. Judgments. There it is. Now, when we go back to 2 Timothy, because let's go to 2 Timothy 2. Verse 15. Paul says, study to show thyself approved unto God. Study. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. The same word of truth David mentioned in Psalms 119, verse 43. It is not a different word of truth. When you're rightly dividing the word of truth, you're rightly dividing God's judgments, which are the laws. Let's get it straight. You know what I mean? The word of truth is the law. So to be approved unto God, you would rightly be dividing the word of truth, which are the judgments that were mentioned. Do we have to go back again and look? Psalms 119. There's not another word of truth. There's only one. Psalms 119, verse 43. And take not the word of truth. You guys see this, right? And take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in thy judgments. The word of truth is the judgments. But look at that word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the same word of truth David mentioned. So if you're going to be approved unto God, you might as well accept that you have to rightly divide the law, because that's what the word of truth is. There's no other word of truth. You can't change it. It was the law. So when you get many of these ignorant pastors, brothers and sisters, these false teachers, yeah, they read the Bible, but they don't define what they're reading, or they will destroy themselves. They never can define it. They can just read it to you and give an analysis of what it's talking about. They can just read it to you and give an analysis of what it's talking about. That's it. But when it comes down to defining what's in the verse, they're not going to do it. So I want to go back to Exodus 12. Exodus 12. Because a lot of Christians put you to the test. They put you to the test. They want to know what you know. So we go to Exodus 12:36. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. They took what they needed from the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men besides children. Oh, here we go. And a mixed multitude went up also with them. A mixed multitude went up with them, and flocks, and herds, even very much cattle. So we can see early on that a mixed multitude goes up with Israel out of Egypt. Here's what the Christians, I'll say it like this. It's not entirely done. I'm not going to say it like this. I'm going to open up with the mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. Now that's where they'll stop it. And then they'll go here to where we're about to go next. So we're going to do this right. The book of Exodus 12, verse 43, because they all sneak this in there. They become clever. They have become clever. They have become very clever. Exodus 12:43. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. No stranger. Wait, let's drop on down. Look at this. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. Now, what we're going to tell you is, brothers and sisters, is that here's where the Christians will try to get you to believe that that man that was bought for money, he's bought for money. Let's go to Nehemiah. You got to go by what you're reading. You can't just Nehemiah 5. Let's look at this. Because they have just come out of the Persian captivity. Watch this. Nehemiah 5:8. And I said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed, which is bought, our brethren, the Jews, which were sold unto the Gentiles. And will you even sell your brethren? Will you even sell them? Because there's a law that says, we're going to see it. You shall not sell your brother. Shall they be sold unto us? And they held their peace and found nothing to answer, because Israelites were redeeming their brethren from the heathen. Bought back. Like it says here. Let's go back to Exodus. Always get these things in detail. Exodus 12. Watch this. Just real quick. That's why he says, but every man's servant that is bought for money or redeemed. He was bought for money. Because see, what people don't realize is that they look at Egypt as the only place that the Hebrews, remember, Hebrews were. And I told you guys once before, even though those promises were given from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel. And we told you this. We told you this. The book of Psalms, 105. Verse 8, he hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. So all of them got this covenant. Abraham had it. It was passed down to Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes. They all got the law, the same law. But I want you guys to notice this in the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Verse 12. Here is the twist. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, in the seventh year thou shalt let him go free. So if, again, Hebrew. I told you guys before, and I'm going to tell you again. A Hebrew was Lot. Esau was a Hebrew. All Hebrews come from Shem. See, this is why we go back to Genesis 29. Genesis 29, when Jacob goes, watch this, Genesis 29, verse 1. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field. And lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in its place. So Jacob's taking his journey. He's taking his journey, so he's a sojourner. I should say it like that. Watch this, verse 4. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren. My brethren is my own people. My brethren is my own people. Look at this. My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, of Haran. Haran was Abraham's brother. Look, wait a minute. Let's look at this. Let's go back to Genesis 11. Let me make sure I'm right on this. Genesis 11, I think verse 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. There it is. And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abraham, that's Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So Haran was Abraham's brother. Brother. This is the line of Eber. This is the line of Eber, who was the father of the Hebrews. You hear what we're saying? That's why we don't pay attention to Christians. We're going to take you deeper. The book of Genesis 14:13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram, the Hebrew. Abram wasn't just a Hebrew. Haran was a Hebrew. And Nahor was a Hebrew. And Lot was a Hebrew. This is why, again, when we go back to Genesis 29, that's why it says his brethren, Jacob's brethren, look, 29:4. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, because, let me just read. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, whence ye be? And they said, of Haran are we. Of Haran, that was Abraham's brother. And he said unto them, know ye Laban, son of Nahor, Abraham's other brother? And they said, we know him. See, you got to realize, even though the promise went to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they still had Hebrew brethren that was outside the covenant. The covenant was made with Abraham because of his faith, but there was other Hebrews, and you're looking at it here. These Hebrews are not in the covenant, making them Gentiles. We keep telling you, brothers and sisters. So when you see this stranger a lot, understand what we're telling you. That stranger isn't always talking about another nation. It's not. There were Hebrews outside of the covenant God made with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel. You still got Nahor's children. You still got Haran's children besides Abraham. We're just in the Genesis reveals the line of Abraham from the time of Adam. It goes that. It's not talking about Haran's sons. It's not talking about Nahor's sons. It's talking about Abraham's sons. But it does not mean that Nahor's sons and Haran's sons were not Hebrews. They were just Hebrews outside of the covenant, making them Gentiles. So Gentiles can be Hebrews. It tells you here. It's the covenant. It's the covenant that makes the difference. So when we go back to Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 15. Deuteronomy 15. That's why it says, and if thy brother, because he was Jacob, remember Genesis 29:4, his brethren from who? Haran. Those are the Hebrews that was outside of the covenant he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember that, brothers and sisters. Remember that. And they were Gentiles. The Bible says, blessed be the Lord, the best be the Lord God of Shem. Remember that. See, now we're going deep. Deep. And if thy brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, and in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free. See, what Christians like to do is say, see, well, it wasn't Esau a Hebrew? Well, sure, it's the same law applies to him, but you don't see Esau. You don't see him. Esau was given a blessing, and it had nothing to do with the covenant. Esau had nothing to do with the covenant. But when you go back and look at Genesis 29, neither did Haran nor Nahor. But still, Jacob went to find a wife from his own kindred. Esau did not. You cannot include Esau in this like they try to do. You're not gonna do that in our faces. We're not gonna let you. But it's been 22 minutes. I didn't want to go that long. I just wanted to show you guys. So when we get back to Exodus 12, because they are starting to do this. Exodus 12. The Christians are starting to do this. Look at this. Let's drop back down to verse 44. It says, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, and only the circumcision would be Israel. Leviticus 12. It was only given to Israel. They were not circumcising every male. Leviticus 12 gives you the law of who they circumcised. It was for the children of Israel. But it could be a stranger that was bought for money. You redeemed your brethren for money. That's who you redeemed. Money means you bought him back from someone else. That's who you circumcised. Your brethren you bought back from another nation, like it says in Nehemiah 5:8. Then he shall eat thereof. Now watch this. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. Now look at that. It says a foreigner and a hired servant. What is a foreigner? Deuteronomy. We're gonna do the law on the foreigner. We're gonna do the law. Deuteronomy 15. And we're going to start in verse 1. Look at this. It says, at the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release. Watch this. And this is the manner of release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall receive it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor. His neighbor would be his brother. Watch, he's going to say it. Or if his brother was his neighbor. You Christians, you don't understand that your neighbor is your own people. It's not neighboring nations. Neighbor is the neighbor of the nations. That's not according to the law. Your neighbor was your brother. Like it says in Leviticus 19. It said the same thing in Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19. This is the law. These Christians change things. Look at this. Here it is. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt not in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Your brother was your neighbor. Your brother was your neighbor. And not suffer sin upon him. Your brother was your neighbor. Your own people was your neighbor, according to the law. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 15. Let's look at this alien. I mean not alien, but foreigner. Here it is. And this is the manner of release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it again of his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor. Excuse me. Or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again. You could keep taxing them. Why is the foreigner different from the brother? Why is the foreigner here different from the brother when it comes to the law? See, the foreigner, watch this. It says, of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again. But that which is but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release it. So you shall release your brother's debt, but you can keep on taxing the foreigner. So the foreigner couldn't eat of the Passover, and the foreigner had to continue paying you taxes. The law was not equal, brothers and sisters, and we're going to prove it. The law was not equal like they say, because we're going to take you to what they're trying to do. So you of a foreigner, you can tax a foreigner. Now let's go to Obadiah. I just want to talk about this foreigner. Who would this foreigner be? Obadiah. And we're going to drop down. Verse 10. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For the violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carry, the strangers in this context, we're going to look at. And we're going both contexts, as they say, we're going to look at. And the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates. Who are the foreigners that entered into the gates of Jerusalem at this time? Hamites. The foreigners were what they would call the Gentiles. We're just showing you foreigners. Who would they be? And foreigners entered into his gate and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou wast as one of them. Now this is supposed to be Esau's, Jacob's brother, but look at what he's doing. See, the Christians avoid this. They avoid the damage Esau does to Israel. They avoid the wars that Israel had with Esau. The brother, right? No. No. Let's go back to Exodus. We're just showing you the foreigner. Exodus, because you want to think that this foreigner that the other nations were eating the past. No. Watch this. A foreigner, which is not of your nation, and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. And the hired servant would be of your brother, because he's an hired servant. He had to work off his hire. But we're going to go over that another time when we get back into the law with depth. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house. So you had to eat it in your homes. Everybody had to eat it separately in their homes. Ye shall break, neither shall ye break one bone thereof. You're not to, watch this. And all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord. Wait a minute. But up here, you guys have got to pay attention. You guys got to pay attention. This is why we tell you, a foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. It's telling you here that the foreigner is other nations. The foreigner is another nation. We read it, Obadiah 11, and Israel, according to Deuteronomy 15:3, could still tax the foreigner, showing you that the law was not the same for what they're trying to promote. So what's going on? In verse 48, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, who would this stranger be? And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. What is this stranger? See, you keep seeing, brothers and sisters, what do I do? All right. And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Now, for some reason, brothers and sisters, you got to think uncircumcised, because Israel. Now, and I'm gonna put this on your mind, because I didn't want this podcast to be this long. I'm gonna put this on your mind. Israel. Now, I'm gonna read this again. I'm gonna read to a certain point. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. Question: did Israel have their land at this time? Did Israel have their land at this time? No. They didn't get their land to Joshua 13, 8 through 21. So this is a future law. This is a future law. So we're going to explain the two strangers when we go to the book of Leviticus 25. Leviticus 25. And we're going to go to verse 35. We're going to show you the difference. There was stranger could be one and another. But the Christians try to make, this just, watch this. Here it is. Leviticus 25:35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. So your brother that is poor and in decay with thee, though he be your brother is a stranger and a sojourner, your brother. Who would be your brother? A Hebrew. Now we don't got to talk about the wars, brothers and sisters. We don't got to talk about the wars between Esau, Amalek, and Israel. They were enemies from the beginning. You can't be enemies and then go through being the law. Your brother could be a stranger. Now, watch. It says, take thou no usury. Don't tax him. Don't bring an increase. Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God. Keep the commandments, that thy brother may live with thee. You can see he has nothing, have mercy on them. But let's go to the other stranger. Here it is. We'll do it like this. It says, all right, Leviticus 25, verse 42. Do I want to go up? I might have to read on down. Now here it is. We'll just read on down. We'll just read on down. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxing poor, and be sold unto thee from, watch, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant. Bondservant is different than a hired servant. This is what we're going to show you. We told you we're going to show you. But as an hired servant and as a sojourner, your brother again, a sojourner, he's traveling from somewhere else. He shall be with thee and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee, release, unto the year of release. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, because he was from another family within your tribes, within your tribes. And unto the possession of his fathers. Possession of his fathers, meaning he's from the tribes. Shall he return? Pay attention. Pay close attention. The higher servant. See, it says in Leviticus, I think 12:45, that another nation nor a higher servant could not eat of the Passover. Remember that. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. So the servants that were brought out of the land of Egypt was Israel. Watch this. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy God. Keep the commandments. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen. Heathen. Now remember, I'm not going to sit here and play the game with you. Heathen, Gentiles, uncircumcised, all the same. But look, remember now, heathen. That are round about you. And as we told you before, brothers and sisters, the heathen, they were not part of the covenant. All of us equal. That does not mean that Haran and Nahor, Abraham's brethren, were not Hebrews. You got Ham and Japheth also. Shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Watch. Moreover, of the children of the strangers. Here it is. Now, Israelites, they were strangers beyond their tribes. But here are the strangers from the heathen. Here are the strangers from other nations. Moreover, and I mean it, Japheth, Ham, and even Shem had a line that wasn't Eber. This is about the covenant now. Moreover, the children of strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your slaves. The law was not the same for Israel and those that are from Ham or Japheth or parts of Shem. The law was not the same. Possession means you own them. They're yours, like we were in the 1600s. You're looking at it right here. You are looking at it right here. There was a people that bought and sold another. It's in the book. It's in the book. The Bible says it. You see it right here. We don't want to, these Christians, they're going to get sick of this. The truth hurts. So, you're trying to tell me that we saw your brother as a stranger, and now we're looking at the strangers of the heathen in verse 44. It was not equal. It was not equal. You guys trying to use this mixed multitude, put it all in the law. Let's go back to Exodus, because I got to finish this up. Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12. And I'm going to take you guys through a little twist here. We're going to go back to verse 48. Verse 48. When a stranger shall sojourn with thee and keep the Passover of the Lord. What would this stranger be from? Because it says up in verse 45 that foreigners shall not keep the Passover. But now it says a stranger. So who would this stranger be? Of your own people. A sojourner. He's sojourning from another tribe. He's your brother, but he's a stranger. Other nations didn't keep the Passover. It wasn't given for them to keep it. Why would God have another nation keep a feast he dedicated to Israel? For the deliverance of Israel. The Passover is the deliverance of Israel, not nations. These Caucasians, man, and their theology. The stranger that is talked about is of another tribe. That's why it says, let all his males be circumcised. And plus, this would be a law. This would also be a law for the land. Israel doesn't have their land. So this again, brothers and sisters, is a future law. This is for the Passover. When you get your land, this is how I want my Passover kept. It's just the beginning. God is just giving it to Moses now so they'll know when they go into the land. They don't have no land yet. And we're going to show you. When a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. One that is born in the land. What does that mean? What does that mean? Let's keep on reading. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So if you're uncircumcised, you shall not eat thereof. Here it is. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Again, homeborn. Let's look at this. Let me show you what this is talking about right now. Let's get the book of Leviticus 18. Christians, boy, I tell you what, boy, these guys, yeah, boy, they want to try to come back to the law to get a point. We're going to bust you out. We're going to get you out of the law. Now, this is the law that was given to the priesthood about the nakedness. Nakedness. Watch this. I went to this law for a reason. The nakedness of thy father's wife, thou shalt not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. Now, watch this. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy mother, or the daughter of thy father. I'm sorry. Let me read it again. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home, homeborn, or born abroad, somewhere else. That's all that's meaning. Homeborn or a stranger sojourner, whether it be homeborn or born abroad, she could still be your kinfolk, your brother or sister. Don't let them get you with that. Just because it says homeborn and the sojourner, no. No, 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 no. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, born somewhere else. That's all that means. Your sister can be born abroad. Abroad means somewhere else, whether they be born at the house or some other place in another allotment of land. It doesn't matter if she's born at the home or another allotment of land somewhere else. Even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. Meaning, again, when we go back to the book of Exodus, see, notice home, born at home or born abroad. Abroad means anywhere. Don't let them get These Christians are trying to sneak in other nations. They can see and feel. They get these people that know nothing, that take just one verse and go run with it. They're running. Let's run. Oh, see, this proves this. That's what they like because they're against the Bible. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, born at home, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you, born somewhere else. Don't let them have you think that stranger cannot be, again, always understand this. We could prove it all day long. The book of Exodus, no, not the book of Exodus, the book of Leviticus. Only 5. Verse 35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, brother, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger. Your brother could be a stranger. And we're going to prove it to you again. The book of 2 Chronicles. Man, Christians and what they try to have. The book of 2 Chronicles 15. We're going to show you that the tribes were strangers to one another at one point. 2 Chronicles 15. Verse 8. And it says, and when Asa heard these words and the prophecy of Oded the prophet, he took courage and put away the abominable idols which were sins out of all the land of Judah and Benjamin, southern kingdom, and out of all the cities which he had taken from Mount Ephraim, and renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh, letting you know that the strangers could be their own brethren. The strangers can be their own brethren. They could be stranger to each other, like we've been reading. Them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to him out of Israel in abundance, when they saw that the Lord God was with him. So Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon were strangers to Judah and Benjamin, but they were brothers. Like it says in Leviticus 25:35, if thy brother is telling you here, your brothers can be strangers to other tribes. There's no way this was equal like they think. You're strangers. We don't have to listen to them. We know. That's why when we go back to Exodus 12. Exodus 12. Verse 49, one law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Now let me give you an example of this. Now, I want to look at a law. The book of Exodus chapter 22. Exodus chapter 22. One law, huh? Exodus 22 and 31. And ye, the ye is Israel, shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall ye eat any flesh that is torn of beast or in the field. Ye shall cast it to the dogs. Now, who would these dogs be? Y'all think it's just talking about barking dogs. No. We're going to show you. And ye shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall ye eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. Ye shall cast it to the dogs. Now, let's look at this law again. Let's see. It's going to give a little bit more detail in Deuteronomy 14. A little bit more detail and see. Deuteronomy 14. Verse 21. It says, ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou may sell it to an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. So we can see, brothers and sisters, Israel was not to eat of anything that died of itself. But you could either give it to your bondservant, or you could sell it to another nation, if just the alien. So God says, hey, you can give it to them if it died of itself, and to your bondservant, that stranger, that from that heathen. It's talking about the stranger of that heathen. But your brother, you was not to give him that bad meat that died of his own. You get the law? The law is not the same here for the children of Israel and the other nations. It's not. But it says one law. We're just showing you, brothers and sisters, we're just showing you that the law for Israel, that's one law, it still is going to show you slavery to another nation, even things like this. You shall not eat anything that dieth of itself. We couldn't even eat that. It had to be killed where the blood can run out. It just sat there for days. No, they said you can give that to the stranger. Wow, you're going to give some meat? You don't even know how it died, sickness or whatever. God didn't care. Give it to them. And you want to talk about equality? Heck no, other nations were not equal to Israel at this time. They're eating contaminated meat. God didn't want his people eating contaminated meat. But you can have it. Eat it. And with these, there was no equality with the mixed multitude. There always was a difference. And the mixed multitude in Israel was separate. Numbers 11. See, when it comes down to the mixed multitude, brothers and sisters, the Christians want to include themselves. But they don't understand it was still a separation. When your brother was a stranger, bring him in, lift him up. But the heathen that's a stranger, sold as slaves. Sold to Master Charles for such and such $. Christians don't want you to see that. It's a reality. It's a reality. This is a reality. A nation was sold between other nations and other people. Historical. Can't get away from it. And yet, this looks exactly like this. I know we're going to the book of Numbers chapter 11, but again, Leviticus 25. Verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have. Shall have means in the future. That's why we're telling you, shall have. He's giving the law of the land when they get there. The book of Exodus to the book of Deuteronomy, Israel is not in their land. They're getting the law. They're practicing the law in the wilderness. But they're not in their land until Joshua 13. You got to see it that way. They're not in their land to execute this law. When they get in the land, this is what they were supposed to do. This. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen round about you. Heathen, the enemies. Of them shall ye buy as bondmen and bondmaid. Don't have to show you too many times, brothers and sisters. It's the same as this. Same thing. The Bible's a reality. It's a book of reality. They try to cover it up with this and Christ, this and that. Jesus. Watch this. Moreover, of the children of the strangers is of the heathen. He's talking about the strangers from the heathen, not from their own brethren, like we read in Leviticus 25:35. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy. You weren't going to buy your brother, but you're buying them, and of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession, your slaves. That's law. Law. When they got in the land, that was the law. When you got somebody from another nation in your land, they're your slaves. You buy them like cattle. Like bodies that are clumped together on a ship and sold. It was law. But it was other nations that Israel was to do that too. You don't think the mixed multitude, when they got into, remember, you never saw, let me give you an example. The book of Numbers, and then we're going to be done with this. The book of Numbers. The book of Numbers 11. This is still in the wilderness now. Watch this. The book of Numbers chapter 11. Boy, these Christians. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. So the mixed multitude again. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? See, the mixed multitude caused Israel to complain against God. They don't read that to you. They were influenced. Israel was influenced by the mixed multitude to complain against God. Now, if you go to Nehemiah 13, I want to start in verse 1 because I'm going to go ahead and end this. I didn't want this to. Nehemiah 13, verse 1. Now, this is after the Persian captivity. After the Persian captivity had taken place. And Cyrus, king of Persia, has allowed the Jews with Israelites, with all of Israel. You read that in Ezra 2 verse 70. All Israel came out, Ezra 2 and 70. But we're just Making a point here, like they do. So they're going to begin to read out of the book of the law. Now, we're talking about all the law. We're talking about the law we read and everything. They're going to read out of the book of the law. These are Israelites reading out of the book of the law. Watch this. And on that day, they read in the book of Moses. All we read, what's in the book of Moses is what they read in the audience of the people. And therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever. So Ammonite and Moabite shall not come into the congregation of God, the place they were founded in the law. Now, don't think that's all they read. They found a place. That's why it says a place. A place means what? Here's the place they read. Deuteronomy 23:3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. So this is what they read. They found the place. This is the place they read. But when we go back, they read more than that. Nehemiah 13. Verse 1 again. On that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people. And therein was found written that an Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever. It just wasn't the Ammonite and the Moabite at all. Now, watch this. Because they met not the children of Israel with bread and water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit our God turned the curse into a blessing. Now it came to pass when they heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude. Why? Why did they do that? Because Israel, the mixed multitude is with them now. They had a mixed multitude come out of the Persian captivity. Christians don't want to talk about this. Not only did they have a mixed multitude come out of Egypt, they had a mixed multitude come out of Persian Mede captivity, or the Medo-Persian captivity. Whichever one you want. A mixed multitude, but they separated. When they read the law, do you know what it's like to separate people from people? When they heard the law, they separated themselves from the mixed multitude. Why? Didn't they read the book of Exodus 12:38? They have all the law. They just read in the place. It's as simple as it gets here. Now it came to pass when they had heard the law, they separated from Israel, all Israel, not just Jews, all Israel, all the mixed multitude. Separated because it wasn't meant for them to be together. It wasn't meant for them to be together like the Christians tried to claim. It wasn't meant. The mixed multitude was to be on their side, Israel on their side. It wasn't meant to be mixed. Oh, you get the same blessings in the promises. They get the same blessings in the promises when they get. No. They told the other nations to get the hell on. Go. We separating from you. This proves that the law did not have them together, because it didn't. The mixed multitude came out with them. That's it. That's it. So, again, Now they're going back in their own land. They're building the temple. Nehemiah is constructing the wall. When they get all this done in their own land, look, we're just not just going to go here, but wait, the book of Ezra again. You Christians and your mixed multitude agenda. No. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord God of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you. Here are Gentiles wanting to build. They were the adversaries. For we seek your God. Come on now, as ye do. Whoa. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Hasaradon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. So these people, these other nations want to help and build and worship. But watch. But Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, you Gentiles have nothing to do with us to build a house unto our gods. I don't even have anything to do with us. Y'all don't have nothing to do with us. What are you here for? This is your mixed multitude, the other nations. But we ourselves together will build unto the Lord God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us. So here are Gentiles, mixed multitude, wanting to come in and build. They were sent right out. Out! The same thing. Nehemiah, they tried to do Nehemiah the same way. They tried to do him the same way in Nehemiah 2. They began to, watch this, when Sanballat the Horonite. See, this is the rejection began to make other nations angry. But when Sanballat the Horonite, and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Gershom the Arabian, Arab, Ishmael, heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, what is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? They weren't rebelling against the king. The Gentiles were mocking them. But watch. Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, which mean you weren't, will arise and build. But ye, the Gentiles, the Horonite, the Ammonite, and the Arabian, you Gentiles, have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. Come on, bro. The only thing you have here is slavery. If you come into our land, we own you. They had no rights. They had no rights there. Y'all trying to put a mixed multitude with Israel with getting the promises and all the law? No. Why is it here? This is the books they skip. So when you go back to Nehemiah 13, easy, Nehemiah 13, verse 3. Now it came to pass when they heard the law, they separated from Israel the mixed multitude. Meaning, imagine if a priest was married to another nation, had to get a divorce. Bye. Imagine if that happened today, where a nation separated themselves from the mixed multitude. They did it, showing you that the mixed multitude had no rights with Israel. Once they open, after being in captivity so long up under Babylon and Medo-Persia, once they began to be liberated back to their land by Cyrus the king, and they began to open up the book of the law, they got the mixed multitude the heck away from them, because it wasn't meant for them to be with them like they erroneously suppose it is. Because you see Exodus 12 verse 38, and then you drop on down, there shall be one law to the stranger. You guys need to stop. You have to break these things down. The mixed multitude were not part of the blessing. They weren't. They just came out with Israel. And they were still separated in Israel. And they even caused Israel to sin. Numbers 11:4. There was nothing special about the mixed multitude. They were a group of nations that came out from in the deliverance of Israel. But they were still on their own. They were still by themselves. You act like they were together in one law. No. When the Bible says, you got to remember this in Exodus, because here's the trick. Exodus 12. Exodus 12. And this is what I mean, brothers and sisters, when it says in verse 49, one law shall be to him that is homeborn. Homeborn means born at home. We just read that in Leviticus 18:9. Whether you be homeborn and to the stranger that sojourneth among you, or born abroad. That stranger is still talking about their own people, because you could be born abroad. Leviticus 18. Homeborn. Homeborn. One law to him that is home. Leviticus. We get straight to the point. Leviticus 18. They always want to try to make that stranger another nation. No, brothers and sisters, you can't do that. You can't do that. Doesn't make sense. You gotta go with what is written. The nakedness of thy sister, thy daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, doesn't matter. Your own kinfolk could be born abroad. Homeborn or born abroad. That's all that's saying. That's it. It's one law to that. Born at home, which is homeborn or born abroad. That's all that means. So when you go back, whoo, boy, they try to use these verses, man, and it's silly. It already told you in Exodus 12, verse 45. You got to pay attention now. Exodus 12:45. A foreigner cannot eat of this meal. When you get this is talking about this is the law that's going to be for your land. A foreigner shall not eat of the Passover. The foreigner can still be taxed. Deuteronomy 15:3. You tax a foreigner. Your own brother, no. Foreigners proven in Obadiah 11. There were other nations. This is telling you right now, other nations shall not eat of it. It's telling you. Nor your hired servant, which is of your brother. If he's hired, he cannot eat of the Passover with you guys. He has to serve it and go over here. But when he is free, so watch. In thine house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of thine house. You couldn't even take, everybody had to have their own Passover meal in their own home. But they don't have a house yet. They don't have a house yet because they don't have a land yet. This is future. Neither shall ye break a bone thereof. This is future. They don't have. They're in the wilderness. Common sense. Common sense. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, that stranger is your brother, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Now you get circumcised. That stranger, they're trying to tell you that stranger is of another. No, it's not of another nation. We just showed you, brothers and sisters, in Ezra 4 and 3 and Nehemiah 2 and 20, that the other nations had nothing to do with the law. It wasn't part of it. That's why we showed you that. Let all his males, the stranger could be from another tribe, another area, or born abroad. And then let him come near and keep it. Keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. Land. What land? They're not in their land yet. They're not in their land yet. This is a future law. Future law. For no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. You got to think. You have to think. If all Israel was given circumcision, what stranger can be circumcised? See, what people don't realize is, as this is future, this would come right on back as a law in the land in the future. That's what they don't get. That's what these Christians don't get. Wanting to make you think, oh, a stranger can. No, it wasn't part. You cannot make a covenant. It was made to Abraham and his seed, not Abraham and all the rest of the nations. It's covenant. And with that, brothers and sisters, just wanted to go over that with you. The mixed multitude, no. People try to make that work, but it doesn't. You need a little bit more detail. And with that, all praises, one love. 7 heads and 10 horns next. All praises.